Welcome to the January 30th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. First item on the agenda is request for continuance under determination of applicability. Tom Garrity,
She said she sent
Thomas
that to
Garrity, 32 Cove Street, East Falmouth, for permission to pump, fill, abandon the cesspool and install a new Title V sewage disposal system with pump chamber.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance for 1 week to February 6th.
So, second.
Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is continuance to February 6th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Minutes. Vote minutes of January 16th, 2013. Tom?
I read the minutes, they seem to be accurate.
Second?
Is that the
So make a
motion?
motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments on the board? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
We bumped chairs,
Oh,
sorry.
that's okay. Request for determination of applicability to determine whether the proposed work will remove, dredge, fill, build upon, degrade, and/or otherwise alter an area subject to protection. If some of you are here for that, if you hear that there's a negative determination, don't cringe and think you're not gonna get it. Negative determination means we're determining that it doesn't do any of those things.
She
which
still
means
has
you
to read
can Go
it.
ahead with what you suggested. Okay, the first is Thomas Garrity, 32 Cove Street, that's continued to February 6th. Second is Seascape Association, Inc., care of Henry Leeds, Waterside Drive, North Falmouth, for permission to preserve the vistas, to control invasive vines and shrubs, install native shrubs where gaps are created from invasive plant removal, and to permit the existing composite boardwalk. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, the staff has reviewed the project. There's a fairly lengthy staff report on this, but it mostly just identifies the vista pruning and some small modifications we need done to that composite walkway. So at this time, we're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So move.
Uh,
So I'll second that.
Okay, and you have a question?
Yes, I do. Underneath the boardwalk, the native stone that's been used historically, is it necessary to pull that out in order, I believe that it does not go the full length of the walkway. However, the areas that it is it worth pulling stone out to put sand in?
They dug the dune out to put the stone in. That was never, the commission or the staff has never consulted on when that was done. I don't want to set a precedent by allowing that to remain, so we've asked for it to be removed. If you want us to relook at it, we will.
No,
But
it's just a question. It was just a question.
Okay,
You might have
That's fine.
Someone down, no.
Yeah, I will.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Staff's recommendation is a negative determination. Are there any questions, further questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Sir?
My name is Henry Leeds, and I'd like to point out that nothing was dug to bring that rock down. The rock went down onto the existing sand. If you go down there, and I was there today, everything is very level. The sand, the rock is actually above the sand. So nothing was dug in that term, and it's worked very, very well for 5 years. We've had absolutely, the big problem was our boardwalks used to flip. It's go one way or the other because of erosion. And when we put the rock in, the boards just stayed nice and stable. We did have people fall, and that was one of the causes for why we put the rock in. It was a safety issue, and it's worked very, very well. Now, obviously, we're going to do what you people tell us we have to do. We do want to work with you, we want to be in compliance, but it's going to, I got an estimate, it's going to cost us almost $2,400 just to take that rock out, because we have to disassemble the boardwalk, move it up and replace it back up on our parking lot, get out the rock, put in 9 cubic yards of sand, what I'm told, and then replace the boardwalk. Well, for what? I don't, the sand, those rocks have not moved at all in the 5 years that they've been there. And we've had some pretty horrendous storms. Lena, that was a pretty bad storm. The one we had this last October was pretty good. So we've had some, and nothing's happened.
Okay, so sir, your testimony is that no sand was taken out to put those rocks, and the
Absolutely,
rocks
no
were put on
sand was
top of the
taken
sand.
out.
Madam Chairman, can you ask the gentleman why the Seascape Association did not contact us prior to doing that work? I mean, we were out there a couple of years ago over a dune issue with this association. So they're very aware that any work within a coastal dune does need to come either before the staff or before the
You do
board.
understand that, right?
I do understand that it was a mistake on our part. All I can do is apologize that we didn't do it.
All right.
What we want to do from here on is make sure we're good stewards. And so that we did file a notice of intent for Bee Beach. And quite a comprehensive, we got a comprehensive order of conditions, and we followed every one of those orders of conditions.
Madam Chairman, if the board would like to hold off for a week, and if you'd like to go out there yourself
Yeah,
and
why don't-
take a look,
I think
that'd
that's the
be
best
fine.
thing to do.
If
So-
you want to do that, we can just continue this for 1 week and
Yeah,
then
I think that's the
any of
best idea,
concern-
and we can take a field trip out
Yeah,
there to
the board
visit.
can go out and look and then give us your determination.
Yep,
Okay?
perfect, perfect.
Okay, so we'll continue this to February 6th?
We need to remove
Yeah, we need to,
it on.
right. Is that you? Did you make the first? Who made it?
Yeah.
Oh, Susan will tell us.
Withdraw my motion.
Oh, you withdraw your second.
I withdraw my second.
Could I have another motion for continuance?
Motion to continue for 1 week.
Could I have a second? Sure.
Second.
2 seconds. Okay, are there any further questions? Okay. Motion on the table is continuance to February 6th, so members can take a field trip out there and check it out. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Gerald and Maura Harvey, 293 Grand Avenue, Falmouth, for permission to pump and remove the existing septic system, install a new Title V sewage disposal system, new parking area, to remove trees and shrubs and replace with indigenous plants and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen. Before you say anything, Jen, I just might mention, I know we're not on live TV, but I do know people watch us, even when we have repeats, that I just might remind any homeowner association that has community, homeowner beaches and so forth, that any work in Concom jurisdiction requires coming in to check what kind of permitting is needed. I know that this homeowner association isn't the only one who may have done work without permission. Okay, Jen?
On Gerald and Maura Harvey at 293 Grand Ave, the staff has reviewed the project. We are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So move.
Second.
Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Now we move to request for hearings under a notice of intent for permission to remove, fill, dredge, build upon, degrade, and/or otherwise alter an area subject to protection. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authority of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. David Talman, 21 Veronica Lane, East Falmouth, for permission to remove approximately 100 linear feet of railroad retaining wall and replace with a green wall consisting of planted 12 by 16-inch diameter compost mulch tubes ranging from 2 foot to 4 foot in height, covering approximately 600 square feet, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'll save any of my questions until after Mr. Borselli's presentation.
Good evening, Mike. Oh, that's a nice,
Nature.
yeah, I like it.
I can't take all the credit. The man filming. had
Oh, came up
something
with
to
that
do.
idea, too.
Yep. My name is Mike Borselli from Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant, David Tallman. He owns a property at 21 Veronica Lane. Veronica Lane is a lot containing just about a 1/2 acre of land. It has frontage on Flax Pond, a freshwater pond in East Falmouth. resource area would be considered land under a water body. In addition to the land under a water body, adjacent to it is an inland bank by definition. It's a sandy beach area. So we've shown the inland bank edge on the plan. There's a single-family dwelling on the property, parking area, and then on the side of the house is a deck with stairs that lead down to a path which ultimately puts you down onto the beach. There's photos within the notice of intent, if you haven't been to the site, that show the area where we're proposing to do some work. And that area is basically a beachy area where the family sits and enjoys Flax Pond. And the topography is such that sometime long ago, a property owner made some modifications to the landform and put in some railroad ties in the shape of a U, I guess. And this created an area to sit that was at the level of the beach. The cross-sections on the plan show that. The photos maybe do a better job. The height of that wall varies, but it ranges from like 3.5 to 4 feet to, in some areas, about, I would say, 5 feet at the highest. The railroad ties are very old, I think. I think they've been there at least 30 years or maybe longer. They're creosote, and they're really failing and starting to rot and slump. So the owner wants to take steps to try to remedy that situation. And the way that we are proposing to do it is to not build a new wall or replace the timber wall with a new timber wall, but instead we're proposing to remove the upper portions of the wall, or maybe the first 2 or 3 layers of railroad ties, if you will, and then encapsulate the rest of it with soil, fill, and reinforce the slope that would be created by encapsulating that with compost mulch tubing. I think you're familiar with that material. It's basically tubes that are, in this case, we're proposing to use, I think, 12 to 16-inch diameter tubes. And they're empty when you bring them to the site, and they're very lightweight, which is the beauty of using them in this case. And what you do is you fill them with a compost material that is actually delivered by blowing it through a hose. If you've seen bark mulch installed, it's similar to that. The machine is on a truck that would do that, and the truck would be in the parking lot. The hose would be dragged around the side of the house, so there's no disruption to the existing vegetation. The work would be done by hand, and access would be down these stairs and path. They place these tubes, they fill them with the compost material in the shape that they need to be. They're very flexible, and they're stacked in different types of configurations. In some places where it's lower, there'll only be 2, and in some places where it's a little taller, there'll be 3. And in a couple of applications, at the highest point, there'll be 3, but there'll be spaces in between that will be fill. Once that is in place, then the entire area is proposed to be vegetated with slope stabilizing native plant material and shrubs. All of the materials, plant material proposed is outlined within the notice of intent on a landscape plan. There's an 8.5 by 11 landscape plan and a plant list. I believe that I met with Jen a couple of weeks ago to go over this, and all of the plant material, I think, I don't want to speak for her, was appropriate with maybe 1 or 2 species. The gentleman who did the planting plan, his name's Thomas Benjamin, and he's not here tonight, but he's very familiar with the type and appropriate plant material. And I think he even called Jan and they talked about it, and I think we've selected appropriate plant material for this application. So all the work will be done by hand, including removal of some of the timbers, the railroad tie timbers will be hand carried out and then disposed of at a appropriate landfill. Some of the timbers, you may wonder why we're not taking all the timbers out. Some of the timbers we're requesting permission to leave in place simply because there's a lot of them, and it's all handwork and they're relatively heavy, and any impact they may have to the wetland resource, if any, has already been done. So we thought it best to leave what we could in place, just encapsulate them, not disrupt the stability of the bank by removing them, and simply cover them with the soil and the plant material and the compost tubes. All the works in the buffer to the inland bank, except for the very tips of these, which will just wrap around. Nothing is proposed to be below high water on the pond. I think that pretty much sums it up.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Jen?
Mike, have you received your response from Natural Heritage yet?
Have not. We did notify, we did.
Okay, we're gonna have to wait for their response.
Understood.
According to the green cards, they received it on the 18th, so
Mhm.
they have a few more days before they officially need to respond.
Right.
I did speak with the landscape architect. These are plants the board doesn't usually see as far as mitigation plantings, but there are a lot of grasses that'll help anchor that down.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of low shrubs, and I just think any improvement to what's there now
Mm-hmm.
would be good. There were a couple of species that I spoke with him about and asked for examples of use on the Cape, so I'm
Okay.
comfortable.
Good. Michelle?
I'm familiar with using these sacks, compost sacks, for this purpose, and they can work really well. I'm curious, the one, I guess section B,
Mhm.
that there's a lot of the fill. Was there a reason that you didn't use more sacks in those areas, or tubes, as you call?
Well, we thought the idea was to try to just continue the 3-tube approach, if you will, in this area, and then just space them out. We didn't really think it was necessary to add 2 more. We thought that the spaces in between weren't that big, and when you stabilize them with the plant material, it just seemed like it was a reasonable way to go about it.
And it's a slightly shallower slope, correct?
Slightly shallower, yes.
Okay. And what type of fill material? You may have said it, I missed it.
Well, I didn't really say specifically. It would probably be a sandy mixture in the lower areas, and then they'd probably be dressed with, I would guess, a 6 to 8 inch layer of loam, good plant medium for the plants.
Okay. I think that's all. Thanks.
Court?
No question.
Tom?
No questions.
Tommy?
No questions, just that it looks like an improvement. I think it'll be nice aesthetically and for conservation.
Mike?
I think it'll work well, there's no watershed above it, no runoff coming into it. I think you got a good plan.
I have 2 questions, Mike.
Push.
I like the project. I think it's going to be nice. But one is, and this is Mike and Michelle, since you both work with these, do you have to secure those compost logs with any kind of
Anchoring?
anchoring? Yeah, like a post of wood
Well,
knocked in, or?
if it's truly compost that they're filling it with, it tends to be heavier than, if you see this for erosion sediment control, it might have more of just mulch in it and it's lighter and you definitely want to stake it in place. With the compost, it will be heavier, particularly when it gets wet. Probably won't hurt to stake it in a couple of locations.
It wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
I would think that the installer will he may use like some oak stakes on
stakes.
occasion, if he feels the need to keep them in place in a line and from slumping until everything sort of grows and stabilizes. So I would think that there may be stakes used, and I think it's like a field decision on how often.
And you can use those stakes, a lot of times you'll see them with the stake right through the tube.
Right.
But in this case, you could actually just use it on the outside to hold it in place until it becomes established, and then you can remove them, and then it won't be a constant.
problem.
Yeah.
Stakes would be similar to what you see when we stake out sites, you know,
Yeah.
oak,
Mhm.
1-inch
Yep.
Yeah.
oak stakes.
Madam Chairman, when I spoke to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I
Oh,
know you
well,
have
you can
another
go.
question.
Actually, I have two more now.
Okay, when I spoke
Now that I heard
to
that answer.
Mr. Benjamin, I did tell him that we will require a site visit
Yeah,
before they do this, just so we can become familiar with the contractor that we're not used to working with. And so he said he'll be overseeing the work, and just so his field crew knows what
and
to
then
expect
maybe
from
you can
us.
have a quick
Yeah.
visit once they put them in to
Yep.
see. Okay.
How it's done.
Okay, the second question I had, and then I'll tell you what my third question was. Does anybody think that it would be a good idea to have a limit of work until the, just hay bales, straw bales along the edge of the pond until stuff gets established? Or are you comfortable that there isn't going to be erosion from this?
I don't see a whole lot of activity coming down once these are in place, and as Michelle had said.
I'm just afraid a big rain could come and all that dirt is gonna,
Well, it is interesting because these type of tubes are used for erosion sediment
That's
control.
what I was just
So,
thinking.
but if something
but there are
happens-
gaps and there's a big,
Right,
you know.
and if
You just
something
got another
happens
straw.
during installment, then I suppose you could have a problem.
I'd like to just see.
You could run another
You could run another one.
compost tube.
Yeah, I know.
You could do that
yeah.
first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
during, until stuff gets
Yeah.
stabilized.
They'll
And
have
that's,
the
that's,
material.
well, I mean, you have to come back, but that can be a condition.
Yeah, but since I'm coming back, I might as well add it to the
Yeah.
plan.
That's
But I'm
fine.
just, I just,
Yeah.
I know the
Exactly.
conditions are
It'd be another
nice and it's
tube.
gonna be nice, but we all know that we get rainstorms and things like that. And so actually, the third question I have relates to that also, and that once this is put in, and while you're planning this stuff, do you want to cut some kind of a jute mat over it all to sort of keep everything in place?
The only slope that would be an issue for is that slope B.
B, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not worried at all about
The others.
A and C once it's there.
Those
Kind of
gaps,
feels like it's not necessary.
those gaps are about 12 to 20, maybe 18 inches in between.
And what's
those
nice is
spaces.
that you have it said there was a starter seed in the compost, so
Yes.
there's
Oh, so
an
it'll
annual
come right away.
rye within, that's gonna come out right away.
Yeah.
Which, until the other plants get established, so,
Okay.
I don't know.
I can talk to them about it, Bets, if it's that much of a concern. We can discuss
Yeah,
it
I
when we
mean,
go on site. If they
just
want to
on
put
the-
them down, fine.
Okay.
I don't think it's necessary, but
Yeah, and talk to the contractor. Okay, those are all that I have.
We have to continue.
We have to
like, what about
continue.
the 13th of February? Just because it'll give them their 30 days to answer, that'll put them around
Let me make
10th.
sure. I know you're gonna be here. I know you're gonna be here because you guys told me you'll always be here.
Courtney will not be
Will
here.
you be here
Courtney
on
and
the 13th?
That's it. Did I tell you I lie like a rug?
Tommy and Courtney.
I believe so.
Okay, good, because there's the four of us on the 13th.
Oh,
Are you gonna
Okay.
be here
I
on the
requested that
16th,
date,
the
the 13th
13th?
of
I
February.
think so.
Okay, Michelle, want to make a motion?
At the request of the applicant, I move we continue this hearing until February 13th.
Second.
Now, does the audience have any questions on this project? Yes.
Does that compost settle?
Oh, before you ask the question, yeah, just have to tell us who you
Does
are.
that compost settle if you?
Did you get that
you
name?
start blowing it into the
Oh.
tubes, right?
Yeah, when you blow it into the tube, you blow it in until it gets fairly compressed in there. It's not completely solid, but it's relatively solid, and there may be some minor settlement of, an inch or so, just because of the air that's still in there, but that settlement will just eventually, after an inch or two of settlement, it would just stabilize, and that would be it.
Might be another reason to have that burlap or whatever on the steep slope. The fields actually get smaller than we thought they were. That slope might get a little steeper.
That's true, but I would expect actually the fill to settle more than the socks.
Sure.
Just because I've seen them filled and they're really packed
Yeah.
in there, if it's filled in the same way.
Mhm.
But that is a good point.
I know you told us who you were, but we didn't get it down.
Mark Gurney, Gurmee.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the table for continuance until February 13. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. William Chan, 4 Circle Road, LaQuarte, for permission to replace the existing pier support piles and slip piles in the same footprint while reusing the existing decking and support stringers, install cross bracing and to raise the landing area 9 inches and the pier 18 inches. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I will save any of my comments until after the applicant's presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, I'm Mark Burgess of Shorefront Consulting, and Jennifer Doucette from Cape Cod Docks is in the audience. They're the contractor that's going to be performing the work.
Okay.
And you received your DEP file number? Okay. And I
Well,
got
if you received it, then we have one.
one would hope. I also got an email from Division of Marine Fisheries commenting that they had no comment.
Okay?
So, just a formality.
That's a good comment.
Yes, it is. They almost always just send a letter on letterhead, not just an email. Okay, this is a very simple project. This is an existing licensed pier. The pier was licensed in 1967. I've measured it, and it conforms, as much as I can tell, exactly to the license. It hasn't been expanded or changed in any way. If you've seen the site pictures that I included with the notice of intent, you can notice that the pier has settled on one side, and I believe that's because the 6-inch piles that are there are too small to support the load. And also, there's no cross bracing on it, so ice has a chance to work its magic over the seasons to shift the pier. The proposal before you is simply to replace the pilings. The decking will be temporarily supported. The piles are on the outside. So in sections, the piles will be removed and new piles will be put in exactly the same holes. We're just going to use 8-inch piles instead of the 6-inch piles that are there now. They're green heart piles, so they're permanent, rot resistant. And once the new piles are in place, the decking will be reattached to the new piles. They are going to level the dock out so it's all at the same height. And after that, they'll install cross bracing to give it a little more rigidity and help against damage from ice. And that basically is the project, just replacing the piles. Thank you.
Jen?
Madam Chairman, this dock was severely damaged in Tropical Storm Sandy. And when DEP issued their emergency regs, they allowed anything to be rebuilt as long as it was less than 50% of the structure. And the staff felt that the work involved was more than, less than 50% damaged, excuse me. Staff felt it was borderline, we're getting a little beyond the 50% since we needed to replace all of the pilings. So they filed a notice of intent to do this. The only question I have is, and I think I see them in the Chapter 91 license, those slip piles to be replaced in kind on your thing, those seem to be licensed as well. They're called that as mooring piles in the,
Yes, the ones that are.
I always look for that when I see these pilings show up. Yep, okay.
Yep.
Excellent. pretty straightforward. The staff, the commission knows the site. You were next door a couple of weeks ago looking at a wall project, so.
And we were there a couple of years ago.
You were there a couple of years ago,
I
yes.
was in the order of conditions for the house.
Yeah.
Madam Chairman, I think you said the only concern you had was,
Well, I'll say it,
oh, okay. All right.
but Mike goes first.
Basically, I have no, real comment. There are more piles physically out there than you're shown. Are you replacing the piles next to the landing?
The landing
By the shed, there are 6 piles that help support that shed. Are they staying, or are they?
No, I believe everything from the pier all the way back to under the shed would be replaced, because they want to raise it up to the same elevation, so.
And the new pier is being raised to the same deck of the existing deck, if you will?
Yeah, there's 3 levels. There's a composite kind of a deck that's next to the bottom of the coastal bank.
Yep.
And then you step down to get to the shed, and then you step down again after the shed to get onto the pier. So the idea is to remove a trip hazard and just get everything at the same level while they're at it.
That's good. Mean high water today was, about 30 inches below that existing pier today.
Yeah.
So, a little higher is better. So, I'm good.
Yeah, if you saw all the rack that's on top
Yeah.
of it from the storm, that's a good reason for raising it as well.
Okay. Tommy?
No question.
Tom?
A unique little shed. Don't see that every day. No questions.
Michelle?
No question.
Courtney? I have some questions.
Okay.
Well, my one concern, I said to Jen, is that you don't have any depths, and you talk about using a barge. You don't have any soundings. Normally, when we get a plan like this, we would have soundings to see where the barge was gonna be.
Yeah.
And so, if I'd be comfortable doing, I just looked, that's why I just measured, and it's also in your license, that it looks like it's about 4 feet at the end.
Yeah, give or take. I was out there at low tide, so I don't know what it's like at high tide, but I believe the construction protocol that's included with the narrative says that you don't want to ground the barge out at any time.
Well, I know that, but I can tell you that we have had projects a long time in the past where we were assured that a barge could do the project, and it definitely grounded out.
Yeah.
And so,
The contractor is here, if you want to ask them questions about how they're going to perform it,
but you're the engineer. I want to see what the depths are. I'm just saying,
Okay.
I will ask you to return a plan that gives us what the depths are, so we know that it's sufficiently deep.
Okay, I can tell you the grade that's on the elevation view, but
Yeah, that's what I just measured.
those are from my measurements,
All right,
okay? And that's different, if you compare that to the Chapter 91 license, it's different, because mean high water has moved a little bit landward over the years, so if this is what I measured out
sea
there.
level's gone up?
And the ground
Since
has
the
moved,
Chapter
and the
91.
ground has moved too, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there should be about 4 feet at the end of the pier, and at low tide, it's 2 feet, 2 or 3, like 3 feet at the end of the pier, even at low tide. So there's lots of water even at low tide. As you move further inland, they'd have to do the work at high tide.
It was more than 6 feet when I was there today.
Yeah.
And it was after
Okay,
high tide.
I'm just saying that we require other engineers to provide that information.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought it was on, this grade is not from the license, that's from my site measurements.
All right,
And I will reiterate what the chairman is saying, that typically, I know I haven't seen you in front of the board before. Typically, what we do for your own edification is that put soundings on there, and it makes it easier, more palatable for the board to make a determination. It's easier with us to see what's on there, and then I think somewhere along there are also mooring fields might be something that would be coming up. But the soundings are, it's just something that is typically submitted, makes it easier for the project to get pushed along.
I understand, okay.
Let me ask you a question. And can you tell us who you are?
I'm Jennifer Doucette, I'm the general manager of Cape Cod Docks.
Okay.
Contractor.
Okay, Jennifer, are you gonna be able to be in this, sort of, have the barge towards the end of this dock and be able to reach the pilings that are under the shed?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are, absolutely. We've got a 23-foot boom on
Okay.
the barge, so.
All right. Okay, those
Okay.
are my questions.
Thank you.
Want to make a
Okay.
motion? Do we need any more information?
I don't think that's good.
Nope.
Make a motion on behalf of the applicant to close the hearing
And take it under
and
advisement?
take it to advisement.
Madam
Do you
Chairman.
want the
Madam
sound
Chair?
bits? Do you want the sound bits? As a
I
condition?
want a plan as a condition.
Okay.
A plan to come in with the soundings and where the mooring field is.
Okay, as far as the mooring field goes, how do you want that located? There's not, I use the existing plans of record to use this, there's not a field survey per se. So, do you want me to go out and measure where that line?
Well, no, you just have to show where the boat is gonna be located on the
Oh,
dock.
okay. I thought you meant moorings.
Oh, no.
Because those aren't there.
That you can bring that when we have the pre-construction meeting, you can either submit it before or hand it to me at the pre-construction meeting that we're gonna have regarding the dock,
Okay,
When we
so.
said mooring field, we meant where the boat's gonna be moored to the dock, tied to the dock.
yep.
Okay, any other questions on the board?
Did we have a second?
Did we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any questions from the audience? Okay, there's a motion and a second on the table to close the hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you. Thank you. Sir, I did want to say, I found your notice quite interesting.
Interesting?
I mean, our engineers do a good job most of the time, but I thought you did a good job. The narrative was, well, it's different and interesting. You provided some information that people don't normally give.
Well, thank you. The majority of my work is docks and piers and shorefront erosion control, so it's kind of what I do all the time.
Yeah.
It's, and other commissions have asked specifically to address the interests of the act and how the project can be performed and meet the performance standards, and they want that in writing. And I just do it I just do it.
Yeah, well, it was a nice
Thank you.
narrative.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, now we move to closed, sorry about that. Well, maybe you'd all like me to say closed. Continued request for hearing under a notice of intent. Daniel Block and Joyce Myers, 53 Quonset Road, Falmouth, for permission to raise, R-A-Z-E, the existing house and construct a new Title V single-family house with attached garage, deck, stairs, rinse station, install new Title V sewage disposal system, driveway utilities, dry wells, mitigation plantings, to remove invasive plant species and replace with native plants, to remove cedars and replace with cedars, to license the existing dock and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, this was continued so the applicant can provide you with
As-built.
additional work on the plan. So that has been done, so I'll save any of my comments until after Ms. Frappier's presentation.
Is your client here?
Yes, Mr. Block,
Good.
Client?
We're sorry you, well, why?
Greg Jones,
Yeah,
you know Greg, and this is Jay Ward, the project supervisor.
Hello, Jay. We thought you might have gotten lost with the windmills, but you found us. That's good.
I was hanging around outside and upstairs, and we were in the wrong place.
Yeah, good. Well, welcome. Barbara?
Good evening. For the record, I'm Barbara Frappier with Warwick and Associates, and this project is a raise and rebuild at 53 Quonset Road. It is immediately adjacent to a project that you just recently approved at number 63 for Russ and Margaret Lemke. This is the house here on the plan. Resource areas are Oyster Pond, Coastal Bank, and there's Velocity Flood Zone. Obviously, the buffers to the top of the coastal bank, which is the most landed resource area. All of the house construction and reconstruction is out of the flood zone. The only work at all in the entire project that will be in a flood zone, in the Velocity Flood Zone, will be some restoration planting down here on the coastal bank. On this plan, it's kind of hard to see because you wanted everything on the one plan. The house in red, as I show it here, is the existing house. The proposed house is in blue. So while we do have a net increase in overall footprint of 535 square feet, we are pushing the house back from the top of the coastal bank. So we're totally beyond the Falmouth Wetland Resource Areas V zone, and we are beyond the almost, let me see, about 14 feet back on one side to save on the setback. We did the calculations, all of our, they're in the narrative. We have a net, like I said, a net increase in square footage of 535 square feet. And it's in the B zone, that's where the increase is. We're reducing almost 600 square feet in the A buffer. So the B buffer is a 2 to 1, and we're showing coastal bank planting all along here at the rate of 2 to 1. This will be all native plants, your typical plants, your bayberry, beech plum, all of the natives, perhaps some viburnum. Down on the banking, this banking was armored many years ago, as it is now, back in the 50s. And for the most part, has been kept sort of clear in between. It's almost terraced, and there's some cleared area that has been kept open. I submitted aerials with the filing. They're a little grainy, but you can see that the walls are there, the open area on the terracing, and the blocks are proposing to plant up those open areas on the terracing, again with native shrubs. On the sides, there are some trees and shrubs. They're being eaten up with some bittersweet, and we'd like to just flush cut the bittersweet out of there to preserve the trees and shrubs that are left on the banking that are flanking this wall. The other item of significance is, if you see, this is the existing house. When you went out, there were 2 trees very close to the house. There's red cedars, and they're going to be lost. They're going to be taken down. I was asked if perhaps I could figure out a way to save them. We can't, but for the purpose of perhaps reducing your angst about the fact that they're going, is that I did ask Steve Mercer from Davy Tree to come out and assess these trees. He used to maintain this property when the Harts owned it a couple of owners ago. And so he's very familiar with all of the trees on this site. And I did submit a report to staff. I have a copy of his email to me. And he said these trees are in pretty rough shape, and if you'd like me to read the report, or if you haven't seen it from staff. So there's not much that can be done to save these. They're too close to the house to begin with. They've been brutally pruned, and they're just not healthy. So even though they're still going, it might make you feel a little bit better that they're not doing too well anyways. An unintended consequence of having Steve out there was, he said the beach is pretty bad too, and he doesn't know that that'll last, which is unfortunate, as well as the Norway maple, because the new property owners are sort of loving those trees. But we're going to still do what we can to try to give them some treatments to keep them as long as possible. But for these trees that we're taking out, these red cedars here, we did propose to put 3 new red cedars over here. Again, in talking Last week with staff, there was some indication that perhaps 3 trees were not going to be adequate. I had some discussion about removing the privet. And what I'd like to say to you is if the 3 trees are sufficient, they will go there. If you, as a staff's recommendation, want to add some more cedars, we could make that part of the order perhaps. Brand new Title V septic system. It meets all the minimum standards, it meets or exceeds all the minimum standards of Title V and the Board of Health regulations. We also have a dock. We are applying for a Chapter 91 license for this dock. This dock has been in there, again, since the 50s, is evidenced by the aerial photography. It's the same dock, it's always been there. And we are in the process of doing Chapter 91 application for that structure. Former owners never did it. And the last item is this wooden platform down on the save the best for last. The wooden platform down on the terrace of the Coastal Bank. Mr. Block and Joyce would very, very much like to keep that. They are going to be doing a lot of planting. Even though this area down here on the terrace has been cleared for decades, they are going to plant that up. And they would very, very much like to keep that deck. So on their behalf, I'm asking if it would be possible to keep that in exchange for planting all of the area that's been mowed down over the years. And I think that's about it for now. So if you have any questions.
Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I don't really have any concerns with the proposed dwelling, Barbara. The planting, there have been some disturbances on that property over the past couple of years, so it's nice to see that you're restoring some of it, because we can go back to the old photos of that property, and a lot of the areas where you're proposing mitigation has been cleared without a permit, so those areas to plant down by the riprap is a good thing. And it was just understory vegetation that turned to mulch.
Yes.
So the board will have to weigh that, but you're proposing mitigation plantings in those areas. That's fine with the compensation of the restoration plantings along that bank. The wooden pier, you provided the aerials that the pier has been there since
In the 50s sometime.
the 50s, yeah, you did provide that information, so the board has that in their file that this has existed pretty much in the same configuration for quite a while. And it appears in most aerials. The deck, the wooden platform, that's what I have a concern with, and that is gonna be a decision of the board. It was never permitted, it's fairly new.
I would say fairly new. It probably appeared about, maybe 30 years ago, about the same time as...
Well, it was rebuilt.
It was rebuilt about 30 years ago?
No, it was rebuilt.
Barbara, can you show us that it predates the...
I can't
Oh,
see
no,
it in your
I can't
aerials.
show it that it predates 78, if that's what you're
And I
asking
can't
for.
see
No.
it in the aerials.
And for sure I looked.
I know you did, Barbara. So the board will have
And
to
you-
decide
and you
on
knew we
that.
would ask you that.
There
I
has
knew that you
been
would ask
some
me.
construction on that platform over the past
I'm sure it's
couple
been
years. I'm sure
maintained
there
over
has
the
been,
years.
but- Courtney, you might remember this.
I do.
I was gonna say. What's your name on that site plan?
That's my signature.
Yeah, I know.
Goodness.
So, overall, I don't have tremendous concerns with the proposed house project. It's just a few little tweaks here and there, that's all.
Who had this one? I think it was
That, I think-
last week.
Honestly, that deck was never,
Nobody.
I never knew it was there.
No, I know, it's not on your plan.
Courtney, you want to start?
No question.
All right. Michelle?
I don't have any questions. I mean, I think we'll have to talk about the wood deck. It's part of our deliberation. I'd really like to see things pulled back and the restoration mitigation and all of that. So in general, I think it's a really good project.
Thank you.
Couple little things, a dry well detail.
Oh, yes. Good catch.
The dry well detail, I did not, I'll give you my
We-
canned dry well
That would be
detail.
We
something that
couldn't
would be.
find it.
Yeah.
I didn't attach it.
And then septic system is for, how many bedrooms?
Five-bedroom house. It's
5 bedrooms?
existing 5, and we're maintaining 5.
Well, I understand the trees close to the house, and I don't really have an issue. I hope the beach, I hope that some efforts, I hope that is,
That was the worst news this week.
well, let's hope it's not worse news. Recently over at Heritage Museum and Gardens, they took a beach that
Yeah, they-
did not make
see
it.
that
They
in the
repurposed it.
Saw that.
They had to take it down, it was hundreds of years old, and it was repurposed and will be, like as a repurposed train pieces, all that type of thing.
Gorgeous. If you have suggestions on how we can save it, we're open.
Not being an arborist, I just will give it my prayers. That's the best I'm not. The,
Can the board vote on that?
yeah, the wood deck, I'm sympathetic to it. And if there's, somebody has a photo somewhere historically, it would help tremendously. But, we'll have to discuss that.
Tom, about the repurposing, just so you might know, because I know that this is sort of your little thing.
It's fun.
Mr. Block spoke with the Lemke's,
Oh,
and,
good.
and is looking to do something similar to what the Lemke's did for repurposing before they demo.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
And
good.
It's sort of a pay it forward with Mr. Lemke.
It is,
Good. I mean, it would be good to
Yeah.
have more people more
Yeah.
sensitive to that.
thank you. In my trade, I've come across that recently in the last 5 to 6 years of the repurposing, we used to just call it reusing, but good luck with that. It can really be an advantage for a homeowner, and it can also just help many others in the community as well.
Russ is a real fan of that. We've been talking about that on several occasions.
Good.
Good.
Okay,
Yes, thank you.
Tommy?
I can't see this deck in any of these aerials over the years. 93 is just about the worst one, and the latest one. Have you seen the
The
wooden
first
deck?
time that I saw it appear on, there were some other aerials, some bigger ones that I think I gave to Jen,
Okay.
is around in the 80s, late 80s sometimes, when the first one that I could say, that's a deck.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
When all was said and done, I was pretty happy in the field. I had a few more stakes here and there. Would have made life healthier for me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I got lost.
You got lost?
It's the what with where.
You
The
know
fact
what?
that there was snow on the ground didn't help me, so I'll be the first to.
Sometimes
I'll-
too many
I'll
stakes
complain.
makes it worse,
I agree, I
Feel like-
am just,
Yeah.
We
I was
want
having a hard time
not
figuring where things were.
too many, not too few. We want in between
Yeah,
there.
that's just like the
I'll
car.
remember that
Not too
next
hot,
time.
Not too cold, But when I was all said and done, I understood, so that's all.
Good.
So I have some questions.
Oh, boy.
The first is, as I said to you last week, you'll remember that our regulations say, I realize these trees might not be, as
I
healthy as you might want them to be, but they're two 28-inch trees.
I understand
Which
that.
means when you cut them, that's 56 inches that are going. We ask people to come in to offer us something between tree for tree and caliper inch per caliper.
Correct.
And I can tell you certainly for me, and I can guess a few other people here, 3 trees won't do it.
That's, if you would like to
So we would,
suggest a number of trees.
no, I'd like you to suggest a
Well, I
number
was
of
going
trees.
to, I was going to double the amount and make a little grove, because I have to keep 8 to 10 feet on center.
What I would like you to do is double the amount, and then where that privet is, put an additional trees.
I looked at the privet, because I know we had that conversation, and the privet's so close to the road, and I'm thinking, because remember I said maybe we could plant some along where the privet is? We'd have to maybe figure out a way to do it so it didn't, you don't want to be sheer cutting it so it doesn't hang into the road, because I need
Right, no, they could be in, but consider putting,
That is consideration. And I would like to ask that with the order of conditions, if it says that I would like to be able to meet with staff, so that we're all on board exactly where it's gonna go.
What, the 6 trees or removing the?
well, 6 trees plus additional trees
In the privet.
we're replacing the privet.
Okay,
Do you want something, can we do something other than red cedar for the privet?
yes.
Okay, because the
Definitely.
red cedar would just be too big to replace the privet.
Yeah,
Okay, 6 cedars and replace the privet with a native.
trees.
Deciduous or evergreen? You don't care? All right.
We'll
Native.
discuss it. We'll
Okay,
find
well-
an appropriate species for you, Barbara.
Okay, thank you.
Now, the next one, I hate to do it, you seem like a very friendly guy. And I hate to bring this up, and I'm surprised nobody else has brought it up.
What did we miss?
But I thought, when I read the narrative, that big pink porch that's gonna disappear, and I'm glad you're pulling it back, but appeared illegally.
No, it did not.
Oh, it did?
You gave it a permit.
All right.
No, it's on the building permit.
It's on the
Oh.
building permit.
It was, and it got a conservation permit?
Yes, it did.
How'd that get by?
Does it have a conservation permit?
Yes, it does.
Where's that? Oh,
Didn't
it's
think
in
that's what
there.
the
Look in
You conservation signed off on the building permit for this, for the pink porch,
Pink porch.
Pink porch.
pink deck.
When the pink
Look at
deck
the-
was
look
put
at the-
on, conservation, so
Must be in the file.
it was signed off. That's what you're saying?
Yes,
All right, that's your testimony, that's fine.
that's my testimony, and I have submitted, yes.
Okay. And we can look into all that.
Yes, you can.
Okay, and the other, my other comment is about the little deck by the water.
Yes.
We're very sympathetic. However, we have to treat, and you seem like a really nice person, but we have to treat everybody the same. And we would never allow somebody to put that there. And since it was put there illegally, it really shouldn't be there. I'm just telling you that this is what my argument will be, in case we have sympathetic people. But to tell you the truth, I don't think anybody's gonna buy it, keeping it. I just want you, I know this might be worse than the beach news for you today, but I just want you to know that that's coming down.
We've been talking about that. If there is something that we can do in exchange, we'd be open for that as well. If we can do that. We'd like to. It's been there for, I don't know, from what I can see, like 30 years.
Illegally. I know, I understand.
I didn't stop for 30 years ago, I apologize.
Yes. But I just want you to know that, I mean, none of this is personal one way or the other. This is what
No,
is
no.
there, this is what the situation is.
And Barbara has been talking to us about that for a while right now, so it's not like what you're telling me comes out of.
She was hoping that we would be in a sympathetic mood tonight. But,
That maybe Mercury was in retrograde, and something would happen.
right, but we really, you know, we really try to make decisions that are fair to everybody in town.
No harm in asking.
No harm in
Absolutely
asking.
not.
So, but I think it's, other than those questions, I think it's a great project. I think it'll be really nice. So, it's exciting. Yes,
It's nice for the contractor to be here as well, to understand that we're all real personal in this community, and that there's always eyes upon you. And
I
that-
welcome it.
And that's good. You know, it's just this informative, when you receive the order, after it's been discussed and such, and just for your own information, just review it real quick on if there's any special conditions, just to make yourself aware of it is all.
Okay.
or any
Particularly where,
questions, feel free to call.
yeah, it's an open door and it's,
Sit down for a quick review.
Yep.
Needed.
Yep,
absolutely,
it'd be great.
thank you.
And next door, Mr. Lemke's
He's
crew
on his
that's
way.
there, let me park in
Oh, it
that
is-
driveway. Yeah, because I drove past this,
Oh,
and then I said, oh, no, it must be there.
yeah.
But I didn't want to go back since I was already parked in the mud. Do we need any more information? I think we could have the dry well come in as a,
Correct, because it's gonna be.
It's the same. It's
yeah,
the-
yeah. And the trees will be a condition, and then that can come in with a,
Yeah, I'll work with Jennifer on
On the
placement.
plan.
Yeah,
there.
the plantings.
Yep.
We'll condition that.
Okay, may I have a,
Motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
thank you.
Second.
Okay, motion in 2 seconds, got that? Okay, are there any other questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, all in favor of the motion on the table, which is close the hearing and take it under advisement, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention?
Thank you very much.
Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Good night.
I'm really disappointed. He makes these great little models.
Next one, I'll make sure.
But he wouldn't let us have it the last time.
I'll make sure you get it next time.
But he makes it for you, save it to show us sometime. Okay? Okay,
Nice meeting you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
okay, now, with all of this, I've lost my...
What are you doing?
Just for those of you on the board who see nothing under business, I have a couple of things, so don't think when we get to there, you're gonna escape.
Bolt.
Okay, request to amend the existing order of conditions. This must be why Tom is lurking in the back.
I'm lurking.
John and Patricia Ramey, 80D Little Island Road, West Falmouth, request to amend the existing order of conditions DEP 253877 to raise RAISE, the house, who put lift? That I didn't know what RAISE meant?
I think that was in my narrative,
That was his narrative.
just to be
2 feet.
clear.
Fill the basement 2 feet and the associated grading. Jen?
It was in the narrative. His one blurb narrative.
I know,
Thank you for
Looking out for you,
specifying.
Jackie.
I know, I appreciate that.
I want to be clear here.
Do you have, okay,
Okay, I'm Tom Bunker with BSS Design. We have the owner, John Ramey, and also the contractor, Annette Ross, with us here for any technical questions or anything that I can't handle. A few months ago, you approved an order of conditions for a small addition in the front of this house and an upgrade to the septic system and a second floor in this location. You mentioned in an earlier presentation, Tropical Storm Sandy, and, this came and went, and the water in West Falmouth Harbor came up higher than usual. It didn't get to the house, but it got Mr. Ramey thinking about it. So he wants to lift the house 2 feet. This house used to be actually down here. It's actually structurally.
you had said that before.
And all, yeah, in a good, sort of equipped already for lifting. So basically, it can be lifted from the inside. There are actually, cellar windows in there to stick the beams through. It can be done easily, stick the beams through from the outside, but the jacks go on the inside. No excavation around here involved with the lifting. But there'll be some, there's no excavation involved with lifting. Just we lift it up, more than 2 feet. Mason will strengthen the walls and add 3 courses of block to get the 2 feet. Rebar and concrete down the middle to reinforce the walls to make them flood zone. There's a structural engineer that's worked on the foundation here. Flood vents will be put in this face. The requirement that flood vents be in 2 different walls. So the area right here will be dropped down about 1.5 feet, from 12 down to 10.5. So there's room to put flood vents in the foundation wall here also to conform with the FEMA regulations. And then, as it is now, the cellar area is below grade. So that's why they're filling inside of it to bring, and they'll put a slab in there to bring that slab to be above grade, again, to conform with the flood zone regulations. Incidentally, it's gonna be converted to gas heat from the oil because they're taking the tanks out. And those utilities, I guess they probably already are, but they're gonna be up on that first floor, not in the basement. So this house will then conform to flood regulations, probably. We have a limit of work and a construction access to get through here. First off, to bring the jacks and all through there, but then later to truck fill in along this area and fill it in. Once it's filled, the concrete can be put in through a chute from this way, but they'll have to truck the fill in around there. Afterwards, when it's done, I propose it be aerated to loosen that up and reseed it with fescue to get that growing again, to take any of the compaction out of it. So when it lifts 2 feet, you need basically 3 risers. In this area here, there's steps going down to this patio, so there'll be some 3 risers added that goes down onto the patio, and they'll get a little bit longer, but it's not increased coverage because it's on that stone. There's a little bit of the deck going this way, and where it's just a level deck, that will actually be changed into 3 risers that will come this way, so there's no increased coverage. In this location and around, when they first lift it, they're not going to put this fill in around the front of the house. But when they get to putting this permitted addition on, then they'll put about 2 feet of fill, up to 2 feet. It'll slope, basically slope from the house away from the wetland toward the parking area to get the grade up to reasonably close to the floor elevation here. And there's some steps added right in this location. There is a cedar tree here that would have to be taken out. And another one, that's because of the steps and all and the fill, and another one here because of the fill. It's more than 100 feet from the salt marsh, this line here, but it is in the flood zone, comes up to this, it's in the flood zone. Some steps and a landing. The existing walkway that goes around here will just be, moved over to get to that landing, and the existing stepping stones will just be reconfigured to go around. So it'll basically be the same, just a little bit of reconfiguration in that location. That's the project. I'll take questions.
Okay. Jen, do you have any questions?
Only question, Thomas, one question for you and one question for Nate. Can you save those cedars at all? Transplant them, anything like that?
The one out here, it's a 12.7, I mean,
They're big.
they're limbed up some, and
Yeah.
probably could with a well around it or something, or, get this one you could, I don't think this one, I mean, the one over by these steps, I think it's so close, and there won't be foundation excavated for
It was
that.
just, it was nice to see them stay if they can't be
Yeah.
saved, It was just a question.
I think Mr. Raymond would like to see the trees stay, and they'll do everything they can to
Yeah.
have them.
Jen, I think we both like to keep them. I've got a pretty good record of doing that, but these don't look good.
No, okay, that was my question, if they were, we could save them. And Nate, how long do you think it'll take you?
To pick it up and put it back down?
Yeah,
Couple months at the outside,
okay, all right. When do you propose to start?
no idea.
Okay. Nate Ross.
Is that it, Jen?
That was it, yeah.
Tommy?
No questions.
Mike?
No question.
Tom?
Just a comment on your plan, the presumed Falmouth V-zone.
Oh, that.
Oh, that. Yeah.
It says right in your regulations, it's presumed to be 25 feet landward of it, so I'm
I appreciate that, you put it right here.
Yeah, and he's
Presumed
been asked
Falmouth
not to
V-zone.
put that too.
That's okay.
She's not on the board anymore.
Just
But
want to
I
know,
We
I
can ask,
concurred. We're asking also, Tom.
I just noticed it, this all the time.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, no, it's
So we
it's
could-
quite
That's how we
Thanks
felt
for
about
putting
it.
me in the woodshed.
The, that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be a good project. And it's amazing how we respond to Mother Nature. So, thank you.
Michelle,
I have no questions.
Court,
No questions.
have you lived here for a long time?
This will be 3 years.
Oh, 3 years. I'm just curious, Tommy and I went out to this site when you first came. Maybe we asked you this question about, was this originally a pier into the water? And has this all,
I think it,
was there
I think it was.
water and
but
then a
That pier-
storm came
I
and,
can comment on that. That
Okay.
pier had, that pier had a float on it at one time, probably 1900, 1920, that did go
and
a
those,
ramp to the water.
and that, but then a storm came and filled
Yeah,
all that
that's
in?
all- Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty, it's
That's
great to,
100.
it's great to go out there and look at
That's
it.
100 years of.
It's interesting.
Yeah, well, it's probably,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it probably happened in 1 or 2 storms. Yeah.
Take it, put it back on Chappaquay Beach. Yeah, that might help.
No,
No?
no, you can't dig out of there and
But,
put
you
it
know,
back on
In
Chappaquay
my
Beach.
lifetime, it's never even been close to the.
Yeah, it's been like, basically like this, yeah. And hopefully for you, in your lifetime, a storm isn't gonna come and move the sand away and have the water come up to your house. But, okay, I think, do we have enough information to make a decision?
I'll move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions from the audience? Okay, all in favor of the motion on the table, which is close the hearing and take it under advisement, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a lovely site.
Thank you.
Oops. Who put these, where did these green cards belong? Oh, BSS.
Yeah.
Okay, vote orders of conditions. Christopher and Betsy Crowley, Pine Bank Road.
We can do
North
those next week, Madam Chairman.
Falmouth. Oh, we'll do them next week?
Yep.
All right. Other business. We do have other business tonight. The first other business is our CPC representative has a little report.
Exciting.
See, we're excited, Mike.
So am I. The first is the Spring Bar Road project is moving forward pretty nicely. They're coming with a phased approach as to how it'll be put into place. As with any project, the devil will be in the details, but I think we're making well. I'd like to think that this committee has been working very well with conservation planning, so I think we're in good shape. And moving forward, we'll be seeing something in the next, there's a meeting on February 12th to present plans to the public, and I think we'll see something fairly shortly out thereafter. If there is a challenge before this board, there always is, that whatever they do out there is going to have quite a bit of invasive species, which means you've got to do something with them, and there'll be maintenance to keep them under control. So how we handle the finances of that when that's put on us is something that need to be worked out.
Right. And I'll just comment, I mean, you and I and Jen have talked about this earlier today. Invasive species, of course, are a problem on all of our conservation land. If you've ever, I remember Karen Wilson taught a wonderful course on how to identify native species out at Peterson Farm. And, you know, any opening will have 8, 10, 12, 15 species, native, not native, invasive species. So it is a challenge, but there's a lot in the plan that can be, little projects can be tackled as we go along, and it's exciting.
Bye.
to see it. Okay, my next is me. And next week, as you got the little message from Teresa, we have no site officers because we have no NOIs. So I thought perhaps we'd take the opportunity, since it'll be a short meeting, and I know you're disappointed when you come all the way in here and we only have a 10-minute and 55-second meeting, that perhaps we'll spend a half an hour. One of the regulations that we wanted to work on is land subject to coastal storm flowage. And so your homework for the week is to review that section and to start thinking about what the issues are, and if you have, any suggestions. But basically, it'll be a meeting to see how we'll move forward on working on that regulation. And that's it. Unless anybody else has other business.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Don't I have anybody who wants to ask a question about that? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. It's always the quietest time of the day. No, just call for the vote.